This woman is carefully applying her makeup, but she is not getting ready for a date. She is preparing to commit a murder. Samantha works as a professional contract killer who spends the year tracking targets across the globe. However, unlike most people in her line of work, she leads a remarkably warm and peaceful life at home, complete with a devoted husband and 2 sweet young children. Unfortunately, Samantha has just let her husband down. Today marks their 7th wedding anniversary, a milestone that completely slipped her mind. Hoping to fix her blunder, Samantha proposes that they spend the upcoming weekend at a luxury hotel, where they can roleplay as total strangers meeting for a passionate night. John gladly accepts the idea, entirely unaware that this quick getaway will soon bring their whole family to the brink of ruin. Samantha gets to the hotel ahead of schedule, while John is delayed by a major traffic jam. As she sits waiting, feeling rather restless, a tall and lean elderly man approaches her out of nowhere to strike up a conversation. Though she is quite annoyed by the intrusion, she manages to smile and politely shakes his hand. The stranger introduces himself as Robert, mentioning that he is merely passing through town on a routine business trip. It quickly becomes clear that he is not just an overly talkative traveler, as he starts dropping odd and mysterious hints into the discussion. Just as Samantha feels her eyes growing heavy from his dull story, John finally walks through the hotel doors. The older man reads the room and steps away, but only a moment later, he glides back to their side. Paying no attention to the couple's clear irritation, he insists that the 3 of them sit down for a drink together. He has no clue that his stubbornness has just raised Samantha's alarms, effectively sealing his own fate. Before finally departing, he makes sure to repeat his room number, telling Samantha that she should pay him a visit later. Once she manages to dismiss the intrusive Robert, Samantha guides her slightly drunk husband back upstairs to their quarters. Just as John settles in for their romantic evening, his eyes grow heavy and he drifts into a deep slumber. In reality, Samantha had secretly added a powerful sleeping aid to his drink while they were at the bar. She clearly has a pressing matter to deal with right away. After scribbling a quick note for John, Samantha slips out into the hallway. She heads directly to the 5th floor and knocks firmly on the door. Right at that second, the digital timer counting down on her smartphone screen reads 4 minutes and 9 seconds. Robert answers the door, showing absolutely no surprise at her arrival, and the two immediately get down to business. It turns out that he is a fellow hitman, a mercenary for hire who follows the highest paycheck. At this very moment, a massive price has been placed on Samantha's head across the dark web, and her old employers at Sovereign Security are stopping at nothing to track her down. From the very second he spotted her down in the lobby, Robert had verified her identity, but he chose not to make a scene. Rather than collecting a quick payout, he prefers the idea of long-term profits. That is precisely why he set up this private meeting. Robert demands that Samantha start working under him, offering a deal where he pockets a hefty 70% cut of her earnings. When Samantha refuses, he threatens to reveal her location to the people hunting her. Samantha does not show a single hint of fear. While she continues to negotiate with Robert to keep him talking, she keeps a close eye on her phone screen. Robert looks incredibly proud of himself, convinced that he has successfully backed his opponent into a corner. Suddenly, his entire frame goes rigid, and he finds himself unable to speak a single word. This is exactly the moment Samantha has been waiting for. From the second he began pestering her downstairs, her instincts told her something was wrong. She had used a brief distraction to poison his cocktail, watching carefully as he gulped down the entire glass. The exact moment the timer hits 0 on her screen is when the chemical in Robert's system takes complete control. With the danger handled, Samantha feels a wave of relief wash over her. She is just about to start cleaning up the crime scene when John suddenly calls her phone. Wanting to ensure her husband remains completely clueless, Samantha picks up right away. She never expects Robert to somehow find the strength to drag himself off the floor and pull a gun on her. Fortunately, the old man's reflexes are incredibly slow, allowing Samantha to easily dodge the incoming shots. Moving with lightning speed, she lunges forward like an arrow, locks his arm in a tight grip, and puts an end to the old man right then and there. Samantha knows that her cover is bound to blow very soon, but with her back against the wall, she has to take things one step at a time. She slips back into her hotel room, and seeing her husband still sleeping peacefully, she experiences a brief moment of calm, but she never anticipated that by the following morning, Robert's murder would be splashed across the front page headlines. To make matters worse, both she and John were now named as the prime suspects in the investigation. John felt completely overwhelmed by despair, and Samantha found herself equally trapped. Still, she refused to let anyone destroy the peaceful life she had worked so hard to build. Acting quickly, she slipped away at dawn, determined to reach her handler in Germany and find a way out of this nightmare. If you've reached this far in the video, please consider subscribing and liking the video. In the days following her sudden departure, John moved around like a ghost. He constantly checked the news for updates while at work, his anxiety growing because he could not reach her at all. According to their schedule, today was the day Samantha was supposed to land. John arrived at the terminal hours ahead of time, but after a long wait there was no sign of her. Growing deeply worried, he managed to review the flight log, only to find that no passenger existed under her name. Still holding on to hope, John waited until the very last traveler from the final flight cleared the gates. When she never appeared, he finally accepted defeat and headed back to his car. The moment he stepped into the parking lot, undercover officers swarmed and detained him. John was taken straight to an interrogation room, where the evidence presented to him completely shattered his world. The detectives revealed that his wife was actually a phantom named Catherine, a ruthless killer who had stolen the identity of a deceased woman years ago. When John showed signs of disbelief, an Interpol specialist named Eleanor stepped into the room. She laid out a timeline of Samantha's international travel, demonstrating that a high-profile murder occurred everywhere she landed. Though John tried to deny the facts, suspicion began to take root in his mind. Once he was released and made it back home, he began searching the house for answers. After combing through every room, he discovered a heavy, locked wooden chest hidden away in the attic. He managed to pop the lock with a piece of wire, and the items inside left him completely numb. Alongside a collection of forged passports, the chest held multiple disguises, wigs, and cosmetic prosthetics. But the most horrifying discovery rested at the very bottom of the trunk. There, neatly stored, was a high-caliber sniper rifle. With that final piece of evidence, any remaining doubt about his wife's secret life dissolved completely. Meanwhile, after taking a complicated route to shake any tails, Samantha finally made it to Berlin. Her veteran handler William was already waiting for her at the rendezvous spot. Her objective for this dangerous trip was straightforward. She needed to secure clean documentation so her family could escape to Canada and start over. Unfortunately, her plans immediately hit a wall. Glancing at the rearview mirror, Samantha spotted a dark sedan tracking their movements. She ordered William to pull over right away and bolted inside a crowded tavern. A muscular operative burst into the bar after her, but after scanning the room without seeing a trace of his target, he turned to leave in disappointment. He had no clue that Samantha was actually hiding right behind a patron he had just brushed past. The moment the operative stepped into a dark alleyway, she struck from the shadows, initiating a brutal hand-to-hand struggle. The attacker was completely outmatched and was quickly sent crashing into the pavement by a powerful kick. Just as she finished him off, Samantha realized he had teammates closing in on her position, forcing her to flee down the street. A female tracker pursued her without a pause. The tracker momentarily lost sight of her target but felt certain Samantha was cornered nearby, so she began a room-by-room search of the area. As she passed a metal street sign, Samantha materialized from the shadows and locked her arms around the woman's neck. Despite a fierce struggle for survival, the tracker eventually went limp. Having neutralized the second threat, Samantha rushed back toward the getaway vehicle. Suddenly, the muscular operative regained consciousness and came charging down the street after them. William opened fire through the window to keep him back, and while the attacker scrambled for cover, William slammed his foot on the accelerator to speed away from the danger zone. Samantha finally allowed herself to breathe a sigh of relief, but her relief turned to horror a second later. She noticed blood pooling on the seat and realized William had been shot in the stomach, his life rapidly slipping away. Samantha fought to grip the steering wheel, shoved William's foot off the accelerator, and steered the vehicle into a hidden alley before cutting the engine. By the time they came to a halt, William had passed away, and his body was growing cold. Staring at her dead handler, Samantha felt a wave of absolute fury mixed with deep guilt. Back home, John was experiencing his own wave of intense anxiety. He pulled out the stack of business cards he had discovered inside the secret trunk and began dialing almost every single number on them. One after another, the calls either failed to connect, or the person on the other end dropped the line immediately. He finally picked up the very last card in the pile, which listed a real estate agent based in Berlin. Holding on to a tiny shred of hope, he dialed the digits. The device rang out in the distance, but nobody picked up right away. In reality, this belonged to William. Samantha finally reached over to answer the ringing device, but she stayed completely silent for a long moment, totally lost for words. She simply did not know how to explain things to her partner right now. John refused to disconnect the line, having a strong instinct that the quiet individual on the other side was indeed his wife. Eventually, Samantha broke the silence. She kept things brief, asking for a quick update on the situation back home. To ensure their privacy, she instructed her partner to step out of the building before they continued talking. Samantha then openly confessed to her secret life as a contract killer. She begged her partner to gather the little ones and find a safe place to hide, promising that she would settle the danger rapidly and join them soon. John, however, was far too terrified for her safety to stay behind, and he demanded to fly out to Berlin immediately. True to his word, John boarded a flight and made it through the terminal security gates. Waiting for him at the arrival terminal was a heavily bearded, stout individual. The contact guided him directly to a small tavern where Samantha had been waiting for hours. Confronted by her partner's deep confusion and suspicion, she laid everything bare and detailed her dark history. It turned out that Samantha's father had been an operative himself. Following his retirement from public service, he partnered with Eleanor to launch Sovereign Security. Sometime later, her father lost his life in a tragic accident. Eleanor took custody of Samantha, who was just a little girl back then. Driven entirely by corporate greed, Eleanor raised her to be an unfeeling executioner, effectively transforming her into a walking piggy bank for the firm. It was not until she crossed paths with John that Samantha chose to seek a different path. She vanished from the radar to escape the firm, though her old bosses eventually tracked her down. Fortunately, she had already mapped out a clever extraction plan, and the clean travel documents for the entire household were fully prepared. Yet, right as she waited for her partner to make his choice, the firm's trackers ambushed their position. Because she had to shield an untrained civilian during the chaos, Samantha stood no chance of making a quick getaway. John tried his best to put up a fight, but they were completely overwhelmed by 4 armed attackers. Both of them were rapidly pinned down and knocked unconscious. When Samantha finally opened her eyes again, she discovered she was resting inside an unfamiliar cottage. A warm, freshly cooked breakfast sat on the dining table, while a thick woodland surrounded the perimeter outside. As she looked around, completely puzzled by her surroundings, the sound of her little ones giggling echoed through the air. She dashed toward the noise to investigate, and her stomach dropped at the sight. Her 2 little ones were sitting right next to Eleanor. She realized instantly that the older woman was using the little ones as a shield to control her actions, yet she had no choice but to walk out and face them. Eleanor was doing her best to act like a sweet, loving grandmother. The very second the little ones walked out of earshot, however, her warm smile vanished, and she instantly reassumed the cold authority of a crime boss. Eleanor ordered Samantha to step back into the ranks of the firm, and she set a strict condition for her return, demanding that Samantha execute her own partner. With the children trapped in the enemy's hands, Samantha seemed to have absolutely no choice. John was rapidly led out of the building, and the couple walked deep into the thick woods. Samantha knew that hidden snipers were lying in wait around the perimeter, so she maintained an incredibly calm demeanor. And indeed, every single step they took was tracked in the crosshairs of a rifle scope. While moving through the trees, the two suddenly came to a halt. Samantha quietly instructed her husband to hold her close. To anyone watching, it appeared to be a final farewell, and in reality, that was the exact impression she wanted to give. A loud gunshot echoed through the trees, and John collapsed weakly onto the ground. Samantha tossed the weapon aside into the dirt as if she had just completed a minor, trivial chore, and she stood waiting in complete silence. A moment later, an SUV sped up to the clearing, and a female operative stepped out of the vehicle carrying a heavy body bag. Samantha took advantage of the distraction to slip completely into the sniper's blind spot. While the operative was busy focusing on cleaning up the supposed corpse, Samantha launched a ruthless surprise attack. Just as the sniper was frantically spinning around to locate the target, a voice suddenly rang out from behind. It turned out that Samantha had shared her hidden plan with her partner just in time. She had only pretended to execute John, and the fired round had perfectly missed all vital organs, successfully fooling everyone watching through the scopes. After quickly neutralizing the sniper, Samantha checked on her husband's wound, confirming that the damage was not serious. The two immediately continued their mission to rescue their little ones. They moved efficiently to eliminate the remaining perimeter guards, seizing their high-powered weapons along the way. Spotting another armed guard approaching their path, Samantha told her partner to stay hidden behind a nearby vehicle while she silently slipped around the rear. In a flash, she dealt with the incoming opponent from the shadows. Now, it was time to split up. She handed a loaded tranquilizer pistol to her husband, instructing John to go secure the little ones while she went to put an end to Eleanor. Meanwhile, back at the main house, Eleanor was growing suspicious, wondering why there was absolutely no news coming from the edge of the woods. A sudden bullet struck her torso, immediately answering her question. Fortunately for her, she was wearing a heavy bulletproof vest, so the older woman was not in serious danger. She quickly raised her weapon to scan for the shooter's position, but she never anticipated that the real threat was coming from directly above her head. Samantha leaped down from the upper ledge, and the two women immediately crashed to the ground in a fierce, brutal struggle. On the other side of the property, John tiptoed carefully toward the back room where his little ones were being held captive. Just as he reached the main doorway, he encountered a guard stepping out into the hall. In a moment of pure panic, he pulled the trigger of the tranquilizer pistol, then caught the guard's slumping body before it hit the floor, placing it neatly onto a nearby chair. By this time, the hand-to-hand fight between Samantha and her opponent had reached a deadly, decisive stage. They were locked in a mutual stranglehold on the floor. During the chaotic struggle, Samantha managed to pin the woman down, but the enemy operative took advantage of the position to tighten her grip around Samantha's throat. Samantha used the downward momentum to her advantage, driving a blade forward to finish the opponent right then and there. Afterward, Samantha looked around only to find that Eleanor had vanished from the room without a single trace. Knowing the crime boss could not have traveled very far yet, she hurried out into the trees after her. Eleanor was frantically attempting to flee through the thick brush when she suddenly heard Samantha's voice echoing behind her. She alertly scanned her surroundings, ran a few more desperate steps, and indeed spotted Samantha closing in from the rear. However, due to the dense branches and shadows, the opponent vanished from sight after a brief, chaotic clash. To lure Samantha out into the open, Eleanor started playing an emotional card, bringing up the past. But the seasoned killer did not fall for the psychological trick. Instead, Samantha answered her claims immediately with a well-aimed bullet. Terrified and completely furious, Eleanor held down the trigger of her machine gun, spraying bullets randomly into the trees. But she soon realized a critical problem. Her weapon clicked dry, leaving her completely out of ammo. Eleanor turned to run, but Samantha suddenly lunged out from the brush. Eleanor's body crashed hard against the dirt, and she took another direct bullet to her midsection. Knowing she had absolutely no way to escape her fate today, the older woman simply begged for a quick, merciful death. However, Samantha refused to pull the trigger. After all, this was the woman who had protected and raised her since she was a little girl. She knew that if she chose to execute her now, she would live with the heavy burden of regret forever. She left Eleanor bleeding on the forest floor to fend for herself, knowing that the very next thing she had to do was locate her partner and little ones. Very soon after, the household was safely reunited once more. They sat together inside the getaway car, rolling smoothly toward a peaceful and happy destination. That is all for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Like the video and subscribe for more recaps like this, and share your thoughts about the movie in the comments section.